So this is my learning activity number 1 about explaining word parts and medical terminology to Sully and why it is important. So the first thing I want to go over are the types of word parts. So one of the types of word parts is a prefix, and a prefix is a word part that is sometimes added to the beginning of the word to impact the meaning. And a prefix generally, but not always, will indicate location, time, or number. And so not every medical term will contain a prefix. Now, every medical form will contain the next 2 word parts. So the first of the 2 is the root word or combining form if you have the vowel. So root words are the foundation of medical terms. And to make a root word into a combining form, you add a vowel at the end with a slash, most of the time it's an O. And the vowel is added to make the resulting medical term easier to pronounce when you add the suffix. So every medical term will have a suffix at the end. And generally, but not always, a suffix will indicate procedure, condition, a disorder, or some kind of disease. So examples for different word parts. One commonly used prefix in medical terminology is, funnily enough, pre. So pre means before, and in this case indicates time. Another is hyper, which means above or excessive. And depending on the word, hyper can indicate quantity or location. In addition to the 2 already listed, the prefix intra means within or inside and indicates the location of something. Notice that the dash comes at the end of the prefix when listing them on their own. And this is how you usually will identify what word part it is. So another example of some root words or combining forms. So one example is gastro. It's a combining form, and when combined with the suffix, the word will form something that has to do with the stomach. Another example of commonly used combining form is arthro, which means joint. So our third and last example of a combining form is dermato, which means skin, and when combined with the suffix, will have a word that has something to do with skin. So some examples of suffixes are the suffix plasty, which would mean surgical repair. And in this case, the suffix would describe the type of procedure. Another very common suffix is itis, which means inflammation of some kind of body part. And in this case, it would indicate a condition or disease. So a third example of a suffix in medical terminology would be megaly, which means enlargement. And in this case, would indicate a disorder or abnormal enlargement of some body part. So there are some rules when building medical terms. So when building medical terms, ordering word parts, prefixes come first, then the root word, then the suffix. You will know what type of word part is being indicated by the placement of the dash before or after the word part. And even though prefixes will come first, they're not included in every word, in every medical term, unlike suffixes and root words. So keeping or dropping vowels. So when you join 2 root words in a single medical term, a combining vowel will be combined with the second root word. So you won't ever drop it. So example of this is gastroenteritis. The word gastroenteritis puts the root word gaster or gastro, stomach, with the root word enter, small intestine, and combines them with the suffix itis, inflammation, to mean inflammation of the stomach lining in the small intestine. So usually, if there's already a combining vowel in the first combining form, and the second and the suffix of the word doesn't start with it starts with the vowel already, you drop it or add it. I mean, you drop it, but since you're using 2 combining forms in one word, you're gonna keep both vowels no matter what. So word parts are just like puzzle pieces, and the way you put them together is super important. So there's some more rules when building terms, and so I'm going to give some examples. And a simple example of word parts coming together can be examined in the word prenatal. This word contains the suffix pre, which means before, the root anat, which means birth, and the suffix al, which means pertaining to. So all come together to mean pertaining to events before birth. Words don't always need to have a prefix, but words will always have a suffix. It's very important, so I'm mentioning over and over. The word appendicitis means inflammation of the appendix and is composed of the root word appendic, which means appendix, and the suffix itis means inflammation. Even though we know how to put words together, there's still terms that can be pretty confusing at times. And they're hard and confusing for even some of the people with the best memories. So here are some challenging word parts. So there's some word parts that are very similar and get mixed up with each other constantly. Personally, for me, this is a trio that still gets to me. So arterial means artery. Athero means plaque or fatty substance, and arthro means joint. And as you can see, they're super similar, and people get hung up on them all the time. So this is a reason why spelling is super important in medical terminology, because it can completely change. It can completely change everything. So here's some more difficult word parts apart from the ones I just mentioned, and they're very commonly used and mistaken. So gram is a suffix that means to record, and graphy is a suffix that means the process of recording. And graph is a suffix that means the instrument that is used to record. So again, these are really similar, and they do have meanings that mean almost the same thing. So it's important to really hammer these down into your memory and know them. And so secondly, another pair of suffixes that are not easily distinguishable are scope and scopy. So scope is a suffix that it means the instrument used in visual examination, and scopy indicates the visual examination itself. So very important, the E and the Y change a lot. So the last but not least, even more challenging word parts. So the last trio are ectomy, tomy, and stomy. Ectomy means removal, stomy means a new opening, and tomy means the process of cutting. So all three of these suffixes are not only spelled similarly, but they have similar definitions like the others I just mentioned. And while they are very similar, very small changes in the suffixes and the word parts can have very different effects on the word as a whole.